Hello and welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason in Kansas City, Kansas, and I am on the grounds of one of the biggest shopping complexes here in the state of Kansas. This is Kansas Legends, and it's got so much. I mean, it's basically an entertainment slash shopping and a lot of restaurants. A lot of big name restaurants, chain ones mostly, plus a lot of shops, those that you find in a mall like Victoria's Secret or Under Armour and a bunch of others. Plus you also have Dave & Buster's. But however, I am not here to shop because there are plenty of sidewalk plaques along this vicinity that showcase a lot of stars and famous people that came straight from the Sunflower State. And not just from the state of Kansas necessarily, but Kansas City, Missouri as well, like those who were on the jazz scene. So who are some famous Kansans that come to mind whenever you're here in Kansas? Amelia Earhart, maybe Dwight D Eisenhower, maybe Bob Dole, or maybe Melissa Etheridge or Jeff Probst, who knows. But there's also some that pay tribute to, some plaques that pay tribute to like some famous firsts that had international or national achievement or recognition, and also like a lot of big events that happened here in the Sunflower State. So come with me, I will go ahead and show you around. And here's one of those jazz sculptures here. Alright, we're going to start with a fictional character. And yes, the Wizard of Oz. Dorothy Gale, Kansas icon. Emily Knapp honored the fictional character Dorothy Gale from The Wizard of Oz as being Kansas's biggest legend. When Dorothy clicked her ruby red slippers and said there's no place like home, she put Kansas on the map. Sprung from a bedtime story that Frank Baum created to tell his 4 sons, Dorothy came alive in the book The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, published in 1900. Judy Garland immortalized Dorothy in the 1939 MGM movie The Wizard of Oz. Now, I have visited the inspiration of Dorothy's gravesite in Bloomington, Illinois, but definitely Dorothy Gale is an icon. Now, if you want to visit the Wizard of Oz Museum, that is in Liberal, Kansas. That's on the southwest part of the state. And if you want to see her ruby red slippers, they're at the Smithsonian in DC. This is a gentleman here, Edward Dwight Jr. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe you haven't. He was a sculptor and aeronautical engineer. Caitlin Teeters admired how sculpture artist Edward Dwight Jr. stood up for his rights as an African American and worked to erase racial barriers through his art. He was an aeronautical engineer, an Air Force test pilot, and the first African American astronaut trainee. Bowing to racial pressure, he gave up space flight in 1966. But he became an internationally recognized sculptor whose works depict the contributions and accomplishments of African Americans. That's right. When you lose your dream, you gotta find another one. And like I said, all over this complex there are several plaques. There's an estimated 80. I could be really wrong. Maybe I'll be able to visit all of them. Maybe I won't. Let's check it out. Here is one about Julia Lee. One of the ones I was mostly interested in. I hope to visit her grave later today in Kansas City. One of the great female blues singers of all time, jazz vocalist and pianist Julia Lee was born in Boonville, Missouri in 1902. She grew up in KC and as a young girl performed with her father's string trio. Known for her husky voice, easy style, and suggestive hit recordings with Capitol Records, Lee entertained fans for 4 decades. Here's another interesting one right here. Susannah Medora Salter. Okay, who was she? Well, the nation's first woman mayor. Okay, wow. Of all 50 states? Argonia, Kansas was where it was. Born near Lemire, Ohio on March 2nd, 1860, Salter moved to Kansas with her family at age 12. She attended Kansas State Agricultural College, married a fellow student, became a leader in the local Women's Christian Temperance Union of Argonia, Kansas. In 1887, men seeking to embarrass the WCTU nominated the 27-year-old Salter for mayor on the Prohibition Party ticket as a prank. Their plan backfired, and Argonia, Kansas elected the nation's first woman mayor. Interesting. Alright, here's one about a United States president. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Not Harry Truman, but Dwight D Eisenhower. 34th president of the United States. Abilene, Kansas. And that, of course, is where he's buried. And that's where he grew up. But he was born in Denison, Texas in 1890. He served in both World War I and World War II. He was a supreme commander of troops invading France on D-Day in 1944. Elected president of the USA in 1952, Eisenhower positioned the U.S. as a global nuclear power, ended the Korean War stalemate, encouraged a free enterprise economy, and signed the Federal Aid Highway Act to create the interstate system. And that would kill Route 66, by the way. Just a thought. But I'm sure Kansas is proud to have at least one U.S. president from this state. And I don't know if the sculpture right here is supposed to depict him. I mean, I know what his facial structure looked like, but hang on, let me get a better view. Well, it's a wishing well, and I never really knew if Ike was a fisherman or not. I mean, I'm sure a lot of presidents did that on the side as something fun, but yeah, you never know. Here's a couple more national leaders. This one was the 31st Vice President of the United States. Charles Curtis was his name, and the reason I see my own reflection is, yes, it rained the last 48 hours, and I really don't want to like dump all the water out, but as a young child, Charles Curtis lived on a Okaw Indian reservation. He attended law school and became prosecuting attorney of Shawnee County, Kansas from 1885 to 1889. Served in the House of Representatives from 1893 to 1907, and as a senator from the state of Kansas from 1907 to 1913, and from 1915 to 1929. Curtis became the first Native American vice president in 1929 under Herbert Hoover. And over here was a presidential candidate. He recently passed away a couple years ago. Y'all know who I'm talking about, right? Bob Dole, or Robert Joseph Dole. Robert Dole has lived his life in service to his country. After completing his sophomore year at the University of Kansas, he joined the U.S. Army. Served 5.5 years in World War II before being discharged as captain and war hero in July 1948. After recovering from his war injuries, Dole was elected to the Kansas legislature in 1950. He then served a long and distinguished career in the U.S. House of Representatives and Senate from 1960 until 1996. And that was when he was trying to outdo Bill Clinton for his second term. Alright, so here's another politician. This is a former governor of Kansas. He actually ran against FDR, I think during one of his terms. Progressive politician and former governor of Kansas. Yep. He served as a Republican governor of Kansas from 1933 until 1937. Always outspoken, in 1936 he made an unsuccessful bid for the U.S. presidency against Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Yeah, he was very unstoppable at the time. Now, would you look at this? They also have a yellow brick road for people to walk on. I just might do that. And by the way, you'll be seeing a lot of these around too, like Hattie McDaniel, who actually was the first African American to win an Oscar for Gone with the Wind. She is from Wichita. Here's another one, and I'm sure they have their plaques around here somewhere, but I'll probably end up finding them, or maybe not. Vivian Vance from I Love Lucy. She was from Cherryville, Kansas. Unfortunately, I do not know where that one is, but I'm going to continue up this yellow brick road. Maybe I'll get lucky, find some more. Now, this one doesn't have to do with a person, but this one is about drag racing. Held in Great Britain in 1955. First drag racing nationals. Huh, I thought that stuff was dangerous and illegal. What do I know? Here's another. Dodge City. Dodge City, Kansas is the windiest city in the United States. I don't know. I think some other people may, from other towns and cities, may have to disagree, like maybe Chicago. But maybe there's a reason why people want to get the heck out of Dodge. Alright, NASCAR. Jim Roper of Halstead won the first NASCAR sanctioned stock car race. First NASCAR winner. Wow. I never thought it would have started here in Kansas. I thought it would have been like Florida or Tennessee or North Carolina, if you know what I mean. Here's one about White Castle. Walter Anderson founded White Castle in Wichita in 1921. First national hamburger chain. Take that, McDonald's. Autopilot, produced by David D. Blanton's Javelin Aircraft Company in Wichita. First autopilot for single-engine airplanes. You know, when I think of automatic pilot, I think of the movie Airplane. If you've seen that movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. So who's this guy? Adolph F. Rupp. Okay. Oh, this must be the guy behind the Rupp Arena. Well, a lot of my family who are UK fans will definitely appreciate this one. They probably did not know he was from Kansas, so... Basketball was more than a sport for the Baron of the Bluegrass, Adolph F. Rupp. It became his lifelong career. He played college basketball for the University of Kansas under Dr. Forrest Fogg Allen. Rupp coached in Kansas, Iowa, and Illinois before beginning a 42-season coaching career with the University of Kentucky, where he won 82% of his games. He retired with 876 wins, wow, 27 Southeastern Conference titles, 1 NIT, and 4 NCAA crowns. Rupp was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 1959. All right. Stuff I did not know. Oh man, I can definitely smell the grease of Five Guys. Too bad I'm not that hungry. But here is one of Kansas's most famous legends, if not the most famous legend, Amelia Earhart. She's from Atchison, Kansas, and there's a museum dedicated to her. And here is her plaque. Alright, Amelia Earhart discovered her passion for aviation when she was in her early 20s. She daringly flew solo from the Atlantic to the Pacific coast, across the Atlantic twice, and from Hawaii to California. She wrote and lectured across the country, advocating the equality of female and male pilots. 1937, while flying the last 7,000 miles of a 29,000-mile trip around the world, Amelia Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan disappeared without a trace over the Pacific Ocean. And as I said in one of my other videos about Amelia Earhart, she always said that she was a false heroine. You know, she never really gave herself the credit that she deserved. But today, I mean, her legacy still carries on today. Now this one kind of comes with a sculpture about Jack Sinclair Kilby. All right, from Great Bend, Kansas, Jack Sinclair Kilby, 2003's Kansan of the Year, sorry, grew up in Great Bend, Kansas. While working as an electrical engineer for Texas Instruments, he invented the microchip and set off the high-tech revolution. A recipient of the National Medal of Science and inductee into the National Inventors Hall of Fame, Mr. Kilby holds 60 patents and co-invented the handheld calculator. In 2000, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for his part in creating the integrated circuit. Wow. And I really don't want to step into this, but yeah, they're leaving me no choice. Wow, this is so awesome. I gotta get up close. Microchip. See? I mean, Kansas is not really a state that people really think about. You know, it's like Wyoming or Wisconsin or Idaho, you know. Nobody really knows where all the people came from. You know, you hear people talk so much about California and New York. Well, don't forget the middle of the country. Here's another thing you probably did not know. The Bulldozer was first built here in Kansas by Earl McLeod and Jim Cummings of Morrowville in 1923. Wow. Alright, that is the movie theater course, AMC Legends. I'm surprised they don't have any like Kansas movie stars, you know, along this way. Maybe they will in the future. Like, I still have not yet seen one for Hattie McDaniel. But let's see what's playing. Okay, we got Firestarter, you know, the remake. And then Top Gun's Maverick. Is he still in the Need for Speed? We shall find out. And going back to the subject of basketball, this is the founder or father of basketball, Dr. James Naismith. Now, he was not born in Kansas, he was actually Canadian, born in Ontario. Born in 1861 while working as a physical education instructor at a YMCA International Training School in Springfield, Massachusetts, Naismith sought to relieve winter gym class doldrums and invented basketball with its 13 original rules. In 1898, he moved to the University of Kansas and served as professor, university physician, and the school's first basketball coach. Ironically, Naismith was the only Kansas coach with a losing record during his tenure. Oh, you gotta love irony. All right, so that was a very fun journey. You know, it's always cool that there's stuff that you know you didn't know, or what I didn't know, like who came from where, or who made a really great lasting impact from the sunflower state of Kansas. Oh my gosh. Well, my Kansas relatives will be really proud after they see this video. So, all right, right now I guess I'll go ahead and get a little dessert, maybe play some skee ball at Dave & Buster's, which is just right behind me. But until now, happy travels. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason in Kansas City, Kansas at the Kansas Legends Complex, signing off.